You realize it slowly, sometimes years later, that the woman you lost was never just a presence in your life. She was a force, a quiet gravity that pulled at everything around her. Men often don't understand it in the moment, too caught up in daily routines, in ego, in assumptions. But absence has a way of sharpening perception. Suddenly, the way she laughed, the way she listened, the way she made even the smallest moments feel infinite, it all comes back, uninvited but impossible to ignore. You remember the calm she carried, the strength in her silence, the depth in her gaze, and it unsettles you because you realize she was not just a part of your life. She changed it. She held a mirror to the best and worst in you, and now that she's gone, the reflection remains clearer, sharper, unavoidable. Men miss her not because of what they had, but because of what they became with her. Unforgettable presence is not something that can be taught, forced, or replicated. It is an energy, a way of being that lingers long after a person has physically left a space. The woman who leaves this kind of impression does not demand attention through grand gestures or loud declarations. Instead, her presence is quiet, deliberate, and magnetic, felt more than it is seen. When she enters a room, there is a subtle shift. Conversations pause, eyes linger, and even the air seems different. Men may not recognize it at first because it is not flashy or performative, but over time, the absence of that presence becomes glaringly obvious. They notice the empty spaces where her laughter used to fall, the stillness where her energy used to ripple, and the void in conversation where her insight once shaped dialogue. This absence is felt not just in physical terms, but emotionally, psychologically, and even spiritually. Her presence is unforgettable because it resonates with authenticity. She is not someone who wears a mask or bends herself to fit expectations. Every movement, every word, and every silence is an extension of who she is. She exists fully in each moment, and that full existence leaves an imprint. Men remember the way she spoke with intention, the way her eyes seemed to hold a quiet understanding, the way she could make even ordinary moments feel charged with significance. It is not about spectacle, but about the weight of being fully alive and fully herself. That resonance becomes a reference point for everything else in life. After she is gone, men replay moments in memory, trying to grasp the exact quality of her presence, often realizing that nothing else quite compares. Her presence is unforgettable because it engages all senses and dimensions. It is in the way she moves, fluid yet purposeful, confident yet unassuming. It is in her voice, soft but compelling, carrying nuances of thought and emotion that demand attention. It is in her laughter, spontaneous yet sincere, echoing in memory long after the moment has passed. Even her silences speak volumes. They are spaces filled with thought, reflection, and a kind of quiet command that draws people closer without effort. Men do not simply notice her, they feel her. And when she leaves, the absence is visceral, a sensation that lingers in the chest, a subtle ache in memory, a shadow across otherwise ordinary days. Part of what makes her presence unforgettable is the way she interacts with others. She listens with intent, responds with care, and engages with a level of attention that makes people feel seen in a way few ever have. Men miss not only her physical presence, but the way she made them feel present themselves, recognized, understood, and valued. She created a space where authenticity was not only allowed but expected, and in doing so, she left a lasting impact. Her absence removes that mirror, leaving a sense of incompleteness, a feeling that something vital is missing. Men realize often too late that no one else can replicate the exact combination of attention, care, and presence that she embodied. Her presence is also unforgettable because it is tied to consistency and integrity. She did not exist in fragments or in fits of attention. She showed up as herself across time, in various circumstances, and through different challenges. That reliability is rare, and it creates a sense of trust and familiarity that leaves a deep imprint. Men remember the way she held herself, the way she engaged with life, and the way she carried her energy. When she is gone, they feel the absence not only of companionship but of a standard, a benchmark for connection and presence that nothing else quite measures up to. That lingering effect is powerful, shaping memory, longing, and reflection. Her unforgettable presence extends beyond the immediate circle of relationships into the way she affects perception and self-awareness. Men often find themselves reflecting on who they were when she was present, comparing it to who they have become in her absence. They notice the void in conversation, in laughter, in attention, and in emotional resonance, and they understand that her presence had altered their internal landscape in ways that were subtle but profound. It is as if she left behind not only memories, but a version of life imbued with depth, richness, and meaning that now seems difficult to recreate. Ultimately, her presence is unforgettable because it is a living, breathing combination of authenticity, energy, and engagement. She moves through life fully, touches others profoundly, and leaves a mark that is impossible to ignore. Men miss her not simply because she was there, but because her existence altered the way they experienced the world, how they perceived themselves, and how they connected with life itself. That kind of presence lingers indefinitely, echoing in thought, memory, and emotion long after she is gone. A constant reminder of what was real, rare, and irreplaceable. Emotional depth is one of the most powerful reasons men miss a woman they have lost, and it is not something that can be quantified or superficially understood. She experiences life fully, feeling every nuance, every subtle shift in emotion, and every unspoken layer of interaction. It is not about dramatics or extremes. It is about the richness of her inner world and the way she allows others to witness it. Men who are fortunate enough to be close to her are drawn into this depth, sometimes without realizing it, because she does not offer herself in fragments or superficialities. She is complex, layered, and nuanced, and her emotional presence touches everything in her orbit. Conversations with her are not simply exchanges of words. They are explorations, invitations to connect, and opportunities to engage with authenticity. When she leaves, the absence of this depth is palpable, a vacuum that cannot be filled with surface-level connection. Her emotional depth manifests in a rare combination of empathy and self-awareness. She understands her own feelings with clarity, acknowledging the full spectrum of her experiences, the joy, the sorrow, the anger, the longing, without judgment or avoidance. This self-awareness allows her to navigate relationships with honesty and care. At the same time, she possesses a profound ability to tune into the emotions of others, to notice subtleties that often go unseen, and to respond in ways that are meaningful, validating, and transformative. Men who have been close to her feel this attentiveness in ways that are almost tangible. They remember how she seemed to understand them without explanation, how she could perceive moods or tensions before they were spoken aloud. Her presence creates a kind of emotional resonance, a shared space in which feelings are acknowledged, processed, and honored. Emotional depth is also tied to vulnerability, a quality she embodies without fear or hesitation. She does not shield herself behind walls or armor, nor does she avoid discomfort to maintain appearances. She is willing to be seen fully, including the parts of herself that are fragile, uncertain, or wounded. This vulnerability is not a weakness. It is a testament to her courage and authenticity. Men who experience this kind of openness often feel both drawn and unsettled because it requires them to meet her on an equally honest level. Her willingness to reveal her true self encourages others to do the same, creating moments of intimacy and understanding that linger long after she is gone. The absence of this vulnerability leaves a void that is felt acutely because few people can replicate the courage it takes to be so fully present with one's emotions. Her emotional depth also transforms ordinary experiences into moments of significance. A simple conversation, a shared silence, a glance across a room. All of these interactions carry layers of meaning when she is involved. Men miss her because her presence made life feel more vivid, more alive, and more meaningful. She had the ability to turn everyday moments into opportunities for connection, reflection, and growth, infusing even mundane interactions with a sense of importance. When she is gone, life often feels flatter, quieter, and less textured, because the emotional resonance she brought is no longer present. The ordinary becomes a reminder of her absence, and men are left longing for the richness she once contributed. Part of the impact of her emotional depth is the way it challenges others to confront themselves. She does not allow for complacency or superficiality in relationships, and her authenticity exposes the gaps between who people are and who they could be. Men may find themselves reflecting on their own emotions, behaviors, and choices, sometimes recognizing shortcomings or unresolved issues that she helped illuminate. This process can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it is also profoundly transformative. The memory of how she inspired introspection and growth is one of the reasons her absence is so acutely felt. Men miss not just her presence, but the way she made them more aware, more alive, and more capable of depth themselves. Her emotional depth is further amplified by consistency. She does not fluctuate randomly between engagement and detachment. Her emotional intelligence is steady, reliable, and authentic. Men learn to trust her presence, to rely on her understanding, and to feel safe within the space she creates. Losing her is disorienting because it removes this anchor, leaving men without the emotional clarity and stability she provided. The void is not only emotional but structural, altering the rhythm and balance of daily life. The memories of her depth linger, echoing in conversations, moments of solitude, and even dreams, reminding men of what they lost. Finally, her emotional depth is inseparable from the sense of completeness she brings to relationships. She does not merely react or respond, she engages fully, contribute in insight, care, and presence in a way that leaves lasting impressions. Men remember the way she listened, the way she understood without trying to change them, the way she navigated conflict and tenderness with grace. Her absence leaves a space that cannot be replicated because it was defined not just by actions or words, but by the profound lived experience of her emotional world. Men miss her because she made connection feel possible on a level that few can sustain, and that kind of depth is unforgettable. Unconditional understanding is a rare quality, one that few can offer and even fewer truly recognize when it is present. The woman men miss embodies this in ways that are subtle, yet profound. She listens without judgment, she observes without criticism, and she absorbs the complexities of those around her with a patience and care that feels almost sacred. She does not demand explanation or justification for thoughts, feelings, or actions. She receives them as they are, fully and without reservation. Being with her creates a space where men feel seen, not only for their strengths and victories, but also for their flaws, insecurities, and mistakes. Her understanding is not transactional. It is not given in exchange for approval, compliance, or performance. It is simply a reflection of her capacity to accept reality as it is, and to hold space for others without diminishing or distorting them. Men often fail to appreciate this kind of understanding until it is gone. In her presence, they may have taken for granted the way she listened when no one else could, the way she noticed the unspoken tension behind a word or gesture, or the way she reframed conflict not as attack, but as insight. She created an environment where vulnerability was safe, where mistakes did not define a person, and where honesty was met with compassion rather than judgment. When she leaves, men realize that such a space is extraordinarily rare. They search for it elsewhere, only to encounter partial imitations, superficial care, or conditional attention that falls short of what she offered naturally and without effort. The absence of her unconditional understanding leaves an emotional gap that cannot easily be filled. Her ability to understand without judgment stems from a combination of empathy, emotional intelligence, and experience. She has cultivated the capacity to see the world through multiple perspectives without losing her own clarity. She recognizes that people are complicated, that intentions do not always align with actions, and that growth often requires patience and forgiveness. She does not simplify or reduce the people she cares about. She meets them in the fullness of their humanity. Men who were close to her often recall how she could make them feel understood, even in moments of conflict, anger, or confusion, how her presence soothed anxieties and reframed mistakes as lessons rather than failures. Her absence leaves a vacuum because such understanding is rarely replicated in ordinary interactions. Unconditional understanding also extends to how she navigates emotional complexity. She does not shy away from difficult conversations or uncomfortable truths. Instead, she approaches them with clarity, patience, and a willingness to hold space. Men remember how they could reveal their fears, insecurities, or failures without fear of reproach. Her responses were measured, compassionate, and illuminating. She neither minimizes nor exaggerates. She simply engages fully, offering insight and support without overstepping boundaries. In doing so, she creates a sense of security and trust that is deeply formative. The absence of this creates a disorienting emptiness because no one else has offered the same combination of patience, clarity, and acceptance. Her understanding is not passive, it is active, engaged, and alive. She remembers details that others overlook, connects threads of thought and feeling, and demonstrates awareness in ways that make men feel profoundly recognized. It is not about perfection or constant approval, but about creating a relationship with reality as it is and encouraging those around her to meet it with honesty and integrity. Men miss this because her engagement elevated their own self-awareness, prompting reflection, growth, and a deeper understanding of their own behaviors and emotions. In her absence, the mirror she held up is gone, leaving only the echoes of her insight and the longing for the clarity she once provided. Unconditional understanding also manifests in her approach to mistakes and failures. She does not react with blame, shame, or resentment. Instead, she allows room for learning, growth, and accountability without diminishing the person. Men remember how her responses to error or misstep made them feel supported rather than condemned, challenged rather than belittled. This rare combination of honesty and compassion fosters not only trust but also admiration. When she is no longer present, men notice the stark contrast between her approach and the more common pattern of judgment or defensiveness they encounter elsewhere. The memory of her patience and insight lingers, a reminder of what true understanding feels like. Her understanding is intertwined with emotional intimacy. Men feel seen not just intellectually but emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically. She does not tolerate pretense or superficiality, and she does not expect it either. Her presence encourages authenticity, self-reflection, and openness, creating a dynamic where genuine connection is possible. Losing her means losing that sacred space, the rare environment in which one could be fully known and fully accepted. Men miss her not merely for companionship, but for the profound sense of recognition, validation, and emotional resonance that only she could provide. Ultimately, unconditional understanding is why men carry her memory long after she is gone. She provided a kind of relational depth and security that reshaped the way they experience connection, trust, and intimacy. Her absence is felt in every interaction, in every conversation, and in every attempt to find a space as nurturing, patient, and accepting as the one she created. The memory of her understanding lingers, persistent and transformative, leaving men aware not only of what they lost, but of what is rarely found again. Subtle strength is one of those qualities that often goes unnoticed until it is absent, but its impact is profound and lasting. The woman men miss embodies a resilience that is quiet, yet undeniable, a power that does not need to be loud or aggressive to command respect. She carries herself with a kind of steadiness that suggests she has faced life's storms and emerged intact. Not hardened or bitter, but refined and centered. Men often underestimate this strength because it is not ostentatious. It does not manifest in displays of dominance or control. Instead, it is present in the way she navigates challenges with calm determination, the way she holds herself when situations are uncertain, and the way she protects her integrity even when compromise would be easier. Her strength is subtle, but it leaves an imprint, creating admiration, inspiration, and often a sense of longing once she is gone. Part of what makes her strength so remarkable is its integration with vulnerability. She is not unfeeling or untouchable. She experiences fear, disappointment, and pain like anyone else. Yet she does not allow these experiences to define or weaken her. Instead, she moves through them with intentionality, processing her emotions fully and acting from a place of clarity and self-awareness. Men who are close to her often notice that her strength is not about denial or suppression, but about conscious engagement with life's difficulties. She demonstrates that resilience is not about avoiding struggle, but about facing it head-on while maintaining grace, integrity, and self-respect. Losing this presence leaves men aware of how rare such balance is, and they long for the calm confidence she once exuded. Her subtle strength is also evident in the way she sets and maintains boundaries. She knows her limits and communicates them with clarity, not arrogance or aggression. She protects her energy, her values, and her sense of self without apology. Men often take for granted the stability this provides, enjoying the space she creates without fully understanding the effort and consistency it requires. Her boundaries are not walls, they are markers of self-respect, examples of how strength can coexist with openness and warmth. When she is gone, the absence of this anchored energy becomes glaring. Men may find themselves struggling to find relationships where such clarity and firmness are present without conflict or imbalance. Subtle strength also manifests in the way she influences others without trying to control them. She leads not by coercion but by example. By embodying a life of integrity, courage, and authenticity, men who interact with her often feel inspired to rise to the occasion, to meet their own challenges with a higher standard of effort and awareness. Her presence serves as a quiet catalyst, encouraging growth without demand, fostering reflection without pressure. When she leaves, men are left with the memory of her strength and the realization that few others can have the same effect. They miss not only her presence, but the way she elevated those around her simply by being herself. Her subtle strength is deeply tied to emotional intelligence. She can read situations, understand underlying tensions, and respond in ways that de-escalate conflict rather than escalate it. She demonstrates patience without passivity, assertiveness without aggression, and courage without recklessness. Men remember the sense of stability she brought into their lives, the reassurance that came from her steady presence in times of uncertainty or crisis. Her absence is keenly felt because it removes that quiet anchor, leaving emotional turbulence where calm once resided. The memory of her measured responses, her composed energy, and her unwavering sense of self becomes a reference point that few can match. Another aspect of her strength is her ability to carry life's weight without losing joy or presence. She experiences struggles, responsibilities, and setbacks, but does not let them define her entire being. She laughs, loves, and engages with the world fully, even while managing the burdens of life. This balance of resilience and vitality is rare and compelling. Men who were close to her often realize after she is gone that they took for granted the ease with which she combined toughness with tenderness. Her absence highlights the emptiness left behind, not because others are weak, but because her specific kind of integrated strength cannot be replicated. Her subtle strength is inseparable from her integrity. She acts in alignment with her values, even when it is difficult, inconvenient, or lonely. She does not compromise herself to please, manipulate, or appease others. Men remember the courage it took to maintain that level of honesty and consistency in the face of life's challenges. Losing her presence is disorienting because it removes not just a person, but a model of strength lived authentically and quietly. Her absence creates longing for the example she set and the inspiration she provided, a template of courage, stability, and self-respect that is rarely encountered. Ultimately, subtle strength is one of the most enduring reasons men miss the woman they lost. It is not the loud or overt power that leaves its mark, but the steady, unwavering presence that shapes interactions, relationships, and perceptions. Her strength reassured, inspired, and elevated, and its absence leaves a void that can not easily be filled. Men remember it, long for it, and often carry the memory of it as a standard of what true resilience and grace can be in human form. Transformative influence is a quality that defines the woman men cannot forget once she is gone. She does not merely exist alongside people. She changes the way they see themselves and the world around them. Her presence is catalytic, awakening insight, reflection, and growth in subtle and profound ways. Men often fail to recognize this influence in the moment because transformation is rarely immediate. It unfolds slowly, like ripples spreading through water after a stone is thrown. Yet over time, the lessons, shifts, and awakenings she inspired become undeniable. She does not impose change through force or manipulation. She does it by living authentically, by modeling courage, integrity, and self-awareness, and by engaging fully with life. Her influence lingers because it is rooted in example, in the quiet power of her presence, and in the subtle ways she expands the minds and hearts of those who encounter her. Her transformative influence often begins with the way she challenges perception. She does not accept mediocrity or excuses in herself or others, but she does not judge harshly either. Instead, she presents a mirror through which men can see the discrepancy between who they are and who they have the potential to become. This reflection can be uncomfortable, exposing fears, insecurities, or patterns of avoidance that they had previously ignored. Yet, it is delivered with such care, insight, and patience that it does not feel like attack. It feels like invitation. Men remember the clarity she brought to situations and the perspective she offered long after she has departed. They recall how their worldview subtly shifted, how their ambitions sharpened, and how their values were clarified because of her presence. Part of her transformative influence lies in her authenticity. She lives in alignment with her values, and this consistency is both rare and compelling. Men who interact with her are compelled to confront their own inconsistencies and question whether they are living in alignment with who they truly want to be. She demonstrates that integrity is not performative but lived, and that courage is not loud but steady. Men often find themselves reflecting on their own decisions, behaviors, and priorities because her example illuminated a higher standard. Her absence leaves a void not only of companionship, but of the mirror she provided, a benchmark for authenticity that is hard to replace. Her influence extends to emotional and relational growth. She fosters spaces where vulnerability is safe, insight is shared, and reflection is encouraged. Men who have been close to her often realize after she is gone that their emotional awareness expanded because of her presence. They remember the patience with which she listened, the empathy with which she responded, and the subtle ways she encouraged introspection. Through her engagement, she taught men to recognize their own emotions, to navigate their relationships with greater clarity, and to consider the impact of their actions on others. The absence of this guidance feels palpable because it was never overt instruction. It was embedded in the way she simply existed and interacted. Her transformative influence also manifests in the way she inspires courage. She does not push men to act recklessly, nor does she impose her will, but her very example shows that life can be lived with intention, bravery, and integrity. Witnessing the strength with which she faces challenges, the patience with which she nurtures growth, and the grace with which she handles complexity creates a subtle yet powerful urge to rise to the occasion. Men often find themselves striving for self-improvement, not because they are told to, but because they internalize the standard she embodied. Her absence leaves men reflecting on missed opportunities, on the ways they could have matched her energy, and on the gaps she once filled in their lives. Her transformative impact is cumulative, growing even in her absence. Men remember not just singular moments, but the aggregate of countless small interactions, how she reframed a problem, offered insight, modeled compassion, or encouraged reflection. These moments collectively shape memory and influence behavior long after she has left. Her presence becomes a touchstone, a reminder of what is possible in thought, feeling, and action. Men miss this influence because it cannot be replicated by those who lack her depth, insight, or integrity. It is unique to the person she was and the energy she brought into every interaction. Even her absence becomes a teacher. Men realize what she contributed only when she is gone, the clarity, perspective, emotional depth, and standards she embodied. They recognize the ways they grew, often unconsciously, under her influence, and they feel the void of her guidance in everyday life. They long for her presence, not simply because of companionship or love, but because she transformed them in ways that left lasting marks on their minds, hearts, and souls. Her transformative influence is inseparable from her essence. She does not demand change or impose expectations, yet her existence alters perception, sharpens awareness, and inspires growth. Men miss her because the life she touched feels different in her absence, less vivid, less challenging, and less full of potential. Her influence endures because it is not forced. It is earned through presence, authenticity, and the quiet power of living fully. She leaves behind not just memories, but a blueprint for self-realization that men carry with them, whether consciously or unconsciously, long after she is gone. The memory of intimacy is one of the most profound reasons men miss the woman they lost, because intimacy with her is not limited to physical closeness. It encompasses the totality of connection, emotional resonance, and shared experience. She creates bonds that are layered, complex, and deeply felt, leaving an impression that persists long after she has departed. Men remember the way she listened with undivided attention, how her presence made them feel understood and accepted, and how even silence with her could feel meaningful and complete. Intimacy with her is not about fleeting passion or superficial attraction. It is about trust, vulnerability, and the subtle ways two people can inhabit a shared space without pretense. This kind of connection leaves an indelible mark, because it is experienced in full consciousness, felt in body and mind, and remembered not just as moments, but as transformations in perception and feeling. Her approach to intimacy is holistic and deliberate. Every gesture, glance, or word carries significance, not because she performs it intentionally to impress, but because she exists fully in the moment and engages fully with the person in front of her. Men notice the care in her attention, the way she recalls small details that reveal she has been truly present, the way her energy complements theirs, rather than overwhelms it. She fosters a sense of safety and trust that allows men to reveal parts of themselves they often hide elsewhere, the insecurities, the doubts, and the authentic expressions of their inner world. That level of intimacy is rare, and its absence becomes almost tangible once she is gone. Men miss not only the comfort of her presence, but the emotional courage she inspired, the vulnerability she made possible, and the mutual understanding that cannot be replicated easily. Emotional intimacy with her is inseparable from her ability to understand and validate feelings without judgment. She listens in a way that makes men feel fully recognized, acknowledges emotions without attempting to fix or redirect them, and responds in ways that deepen the connection rather than complicate it. Men remember the rare combination of gentleness and insight, the way she could make a fleeting confession feel monumental, or a simple conversation feel transformative. Even disagreements or tensions with her were often infused with this depth, teaching lessons about empathy, patience, and communication. The absence of this type of emotional connection leaves men yearning because it is not something they can casually replace with others. It was rooted in her presence, her energy, and her unique way of engaging with the world and with them. Intimacy with her also includes the subtle, unspoken aspects of connection. It is in the small gestures, the touch of a hand, the warmth of a glance, the timing of a smile that communicate care, understanding, and alignment. Men often realize after she is gone that these small acts created a sense of closeness and continuity that went beyond words. They recall moments of quiet companionship, shared routines, and fleeting instances of synchronicity that felt profound at the time, but gain even greater weight in retrospect. It is in these moments that the depth of connection is cemented, forming memories that endure, shaping emotions and perceptions long after the physical presence is absent. Physical intimacy with her, while a part of the connection, is inseparable from emotional and mental engagement. Her touch, her warmth, the way she inhabits her own body and confidence and awareness leave impressions that linger. Men remember not just the physical sensations, but the trust, respect, and emotional openness that accompanied them. This kind of intimacy becomes a reference point, shaping the way they perceive closeness, affection, and connection with others in the future. Her absence leaves a gap because the totality of the experience, mental, emotional, and physical, is hard to replicate. Men realize they are not simply missing physical contact, they are missing a holistic, immersive experience of being known and accepted. Another facet of the intimacy she creates is intellectual and spiritual connection. Conversations with her are not trivial. They probe ideas, explore feelings, and challenge assumptions. Men miss the way she encouraged reflection, inspired curiosity, and validated insight, creating a bond that transcended mere companionship. This type of connection ensures that even when she is not physically present, her influence persists. Men recall ideas, phrases, and perspectives she offered, and these memories continue to shape their thinking and behavior. The absence is profound because no one else provides the same alignment of emotional, physical, and intellectual intimacy. Shared vulnerability is central to the intimacy she fosters. She allows men to reveal their fears, regrets, and uncertainties, and in turn, she reveals herself without pretension. This mutual exposure creates trust, depth, and a sense of belonging that is transformative. Men often only fully understand the value of this after she is gone, when the opportunity to experience such a profound connection again feels remote. They miss the way she held space for their complexities, the way her presence made honesty safe, and the way her absence leaves a persistent sense of incompleteness. Ultimately, the memory of intimacy with her endures because it is not limited to individual moments. It is a cumulative experience of attention, presence, understanding, and shared existence. Men miss her not simply for companionship, desire, or affection, but for the way she created a connection that encompassed every dimension of being: emotional, physical, intellectual, and spiritual. Her absence is a quiet ache because the richness of that connection is rare, irreplaceable, and unforgettable. When men miss the woman they lost, it is not simply because of her presence, her beauty, or her charm. It is because she altered the way they experienced life, connection, and themselves. She was unforgettable, deeply emotional, profoundly understanding, quietly strong, transformative, and intimately present in ways that few can match. Every interaction with her left an imprint, subtle, lasting, and impossible to erase. Her absence is felt not just in the empty spaces she leaves behind, but in the ways life feels diminished without her insight, her depth, and her care. Men remember her not as someone who completed them, but as someone who awakened them, challenged them, and made them more alive. To miss her is to feel the echoes of all the ways she shaped hearts, inspired growth, and created connections that linger far beyond the moments they shared. She is remembered because she cannot be replaced, and she is missed because she changed everything.